Hello, WOT Blitzers. It's Littlefinger. It's May 12th. It's a Friday, and it is time for a store review. I know it's been a little while since I've posted a video. Apologize for that. Been quite busy. Haven't been playing Blitz too much, but as you can see, I did gamble on the AP AMX 30. I'll put the video of that experience at the end of the store review just so that you can see how that went. But we'll talk about it when we get to the store. Only 8 battles in it so far. 13% win rate. Yes, I've only won one battle. Teams have been extremely lopsided. I had 3 AFKs on those 8 battles on my team. Team splitting. Not sure if that's the experience that you have been getting lately, but it's part of the reason that, I just haven't played as many games lately. Also, I think I kind of teased the fact that I was going to the Fort Benning and the Armor Cavalry Museum and Walkie Talk, and I spent several hours there. Absolutely amazing. I have a ton of pictures. Just haven't gotten around to putting that into some sort of video to share with you guys, but I will get on that, I promise. So I noticed there's a lot of stuff going on. Not going to really talk about the events. We're just going to jump into the store. Now, I think probably the best place to start is what I noticed here is the change in prices on the gold. Typically I would say if you can buy gold at 750 gold per dollar, where this used to be 99.99, that was kind of the best deal. If we could find a deal better than that, we were looking for those. But looks like inflation has hit Blitz as well. Just want to make sure if you guys are getting the same prices as I am. So leave a comment and let me know there. So we're going to have to lower our gold to about 680, 650, somewhere in there now due to these higher prices for gold. So just want to get that out of the way. And I think we'll talk about Dash and Clash when we get down to the tanks. These draws here, guys, they're really not a great deal, especially if you don't have a tank at the end of the journey. Because at each time you spend gold on this, these rates change as you take some of the options off the table. But the gold amount gets pretty steep towards the end. So I would not gamble on, you're going to end up spending probably 100 and something gold in the first 3 plays, and you're going to end up with splinters. So just stay away from the draw altogether. We'll talk about the tanks when we get down to them. But I thought there was something that I wanted to mention prior to that. Guess not. All right, so let's talk tanks, right? $42. We multiply that by 680. We're talking 28,000 gold equivalent for a tier 9 French medium, the prototype, and the Bat Chat Borask. And yes, this is one of the more fun medium tanks. 2-shot auto loader, good mobility, more on the side of a light tank. And it does some significant damage, 320 average damage per shot on your AP. So you're going to get 2 shots in, 60 kilometers per hour as your top speed there. So this is a fun tank, but it is not worth this amount of gold. I mean, if we say just split this in half, that's 15,000 gold for a tier 8 medium tank. And I find it interesting here that they're not offering the Bat Chat by itself. So I think that kind of tells you what you need to know about this deal. It is not a strong deal in any way. AMX 30 prototype is a nice tier 9 tank. You just get those typical French kind of characteristics. Good gun depression, 10 degrees. It's got an accurate gun. It's got good mobility. The armor in this one is not horrible in a hold down position, but typical medium armor and playstyle on this tank. If you want to try to pick it up for 10,000, that wouldn't be horrible, I don't think. We've got into some British tanks here. A bundle for what I would argue is probably one of the best tier 6 medium tanks. The Cromwell B, super high firing, a amazing gun depression on this tank. I think it's, I was gonna say I thought it was 12 degrees, but it is actually 13 degrees of gun depression on this tank. So plays hills extremely well. It's fast, it's agile. However, tier 6, just keep that in mind. And the FV plays very similar as well. It's obviously slower, being a heavy tank, faster firing, lower damage, British playstyle. But to get both of these for 7,000 gold with all of these add-ons is a pretty nice deal. But again, keep in mind tier 6 and tier 7 and how often you do play those tiers. We've got the German Bulldog here, and I did do a full tank review on this quite a while back. So we see here you can get this either for 5,500 or for $15. If we went with a $15 route, you have the 680. That's 10,000 equivalent of gold. So obviously, buying gold in the store and then using that gold to buy the gold bundle here is going to be a better deal for you financially. 30 days of premium time is nice. And just a little bit about this tank. Super fast, no armor, pretty good gun accuracy. The one thing I don't think I highlighted enough in my full tank review on this tank is your HE pen of 112. Now, obviously, this is before equipment. We can add another 10% to that. So you're getting almost, over 120 mil of HE pen with 320 average damage on that. So having a light mobile tank that can oftentimes, get yourself to the weaker spots on tanks. But again, keep in mind, you don't have any armor. I'm going to see a lot of big derpy guns at tier 7, tier 8, and even tier 9. 72 kilometers as top speed makes this quite a little fun tank to drive around. So, 5,500, I think that's a fun little tank if this is your play style. All right, double impact. Let's talk about this. 12,500 gold. Makes you think that this is a deal that is too good to be true. Well, quite honestly, guys, both of these tanks are at the bottom of my favorite list for tier 8. The 59 patent, it's just got that all-around play style. You've got your 10 degrees of gun depression. It's somewhat accurate. The hatch can be a problem at times. It's just not as mobile as I would like in a medium tank. And then when you get to the WZ122, this tank is just so slow for a medium tank. I just really hate playing it, and it does have a big gun doing 400 average damage, only 7 degrees of gun depression. I feel like this is kind of like the poor man's Chimera here. It's just not a fun tank. I do not enjoy playing either of these, and I would stay away from them unless you are just a collector and looking to pick both of these or one or the other up here on the individual deals. I don't even think 5,000 for the 59 patent's a good deal by itself. The 2684 hasn't been for sale that often, which is why you see this asinine price of 27,500 gold. 22.5 without the camo and the 5Xs and the order. I'm not sure even what the order gets you here. 3 mega containers. What's in a mega container? So you get a slight chance here of picking up an extra tank. But anyway, about the tank, if you've seen it out there, it's got just unbelievably strong armor, especially this lower plate is pretty hard to pen. Your weak spots are these side cheeks here. But the downside, I think, is the gun depression. Rear mounted turret, 5 degrees of gun depression, makes it a little bit tricky to play. But a big old gun on it, 690 average damage, and I do think that this is a tank worth owning. Got a kind of a unique play style to it at tier 10 tank destroyer realm. But certainly not for 27.5 or 22.5 or whatever it was. Just keep being patient and wait for that to come down. Badger here, I've done a review on this tank. It is quite a nice tank, however, team dependent due to your lack of mobility. It's got some really nice armor, a fairly accurate gun doing 460 average damage, and 3,800 damage per minute number, is really what makes the tank valuable in my opinion. But again, I think the price at 20,000 is still a little bit too high here. $41. Whoa. That is 28,000 gold. No. You're gonna buy it with the 20,000 gold, but still, this is another one of those tanks that I would more recommend waiting. Get this down to 17.5. Maybe in a year we'll see it at 15 or something like that. All right, some lower tier tanks I'm just gonna pass over, but I did want to mention this Iron Predators. It's either $18 or 7,500 for 3 tier 8 tanks. Okay, none of these tanks, and I'll talk about them in a second. If you do buy cash, that's kind of the equivalent of 12,000 gold. So it's, again, better to go into the store if you don't have gold, buy gold by paying cash for gold, and then use your gold to buy this. So, all right, so we've got 3 tanks for what is typically the price of one premium tank at tier 8. We've got the Lorraine 40T. And what I do like about this bundle is these tanks kind of hit different spots on the playstyle. So you've got an auto-loading medium French tank here with 4 shells in the magazine. We've talked about this tank several times on the channel. What I find the most difficult thing about this tank is that 4 shells in the magazine with 2.5 second reload time is you not always can be on target in order to get all 4 shells out. So you're always having to make that difficult decision of, if you've got 1 or 2 shells remaining, do I go ahead? Is now the right time to go ahead and force that 20-second reload? Or should I just hold on to these 2 shells and see if I can use them in the near term, right? So outside of that, the mobility on this tank is good, 60 kilometers per hour, 8 degrees of gun depression. Biggest complaint I would say about this tank is only having 9 degrees of gun elevation to it. But outside of that, the armor is actually fairly good frontally, but nothing really on the sides or back. Now, if we look at the Chieftain, you're getting into kind of the British heavy tank, and I think we talked about similar tank like this already today. But it's, it's that standard British play style where you have a very fast reload time of 5.5 seconds, pretty good damage per minute at 2,500. But you're only doing 225 damage, which means you have to be on target more frequently. And that is the challenge, obviously, with this tank. But again, none of these 3 tanks fit at the bottom of where I would rank, the tier 8 premium tanks, but they're certainly not the top. So the T20, I've really enjoyed this tank. I've only played it a handful of times just because, there are so many tanks of this play style at tier 8 heavy. We've got the pike nose, spaced armor on the side. When it first came out, it was pretty bad, but I know that they have buffed it up a little bit and it plays a lot better now. The downside is your damage per minute, 1869, so you're really relying more heavily on your ability to angle this and deflect shots with the armor. If you can't do that, you're not going to do well in this tank. But you see 400 average damage, so you're getting a nice bit of damage. And we've got the Soviet gun depression issue of only 6 degrees of gun depression. But hey, you know, to say if you're looking at this one for 7,500 gold, if you're new to tier 8, these are not horrible tanks. It's a nice price point to give you some variety of tanks that will do okay. I'm not saying that these are the best in class by any means, but they're serviceable. And as we know, the premium tanks are a good way to boost your credit earnings and build up silver so that you can buy those tech tree tanks. So certainly a recommendation. And when you consider it's got all 9 equipment slots unlocked, this is probably the best deal I have seen in quite some time. So I think that covers everything in the, I did want to talk briefly on the Badger container. And, you know, I'm on the fence about this. The good side to this is you're guaranteed to at least come away with some gold, right? But if we're looking at 6,500 gold divided by 18, that's only 360 gold per dollar. It's not horrible, but we can get almost twice that, not quite twice that, in the store, buying gold straight up. But you do have a 20% chance of getting the Badger, which, you know, we saw they're selling for what, 20,000 gold plus. So just keep that in mind, right? And then finally, I don't think I talked about this. No, I didn't. The AMX 30. Kind of like how they've switched this up now at the bottom. And so I basically, guys, I came in here, used my gold, bought 10 of these. And you can watch the video after this of the process of going through that. So to note, there is a fairly high chance of getting some gold out of this in return, but only a 5% chance of getting the tank. Now, I'll say I got the tank twice, and that really helped out with getting this gold. But I find this amount of gold kind of insulting. 3750 for a tank, you know, having that you already own. So anyway, I was definitely very lucky. However, statistically, maybe not. So this tank might not be great. There are charms available that with this you do need 30 of them. But for right now, my initial verdict on the tank is it's not worth gambling on. But I'll report back after I get some more games in, hopefully this weekend. So that's going to wrap up the store review. If you are not already, please hit that subscribe button. I promise to get the pictures and videos from the museum up as soon as I can, and I'll put the draw for the AMX 30 here up in just a second, but no video, guys. So with that, I'm going to sign off, and appreciate you watching. And of course, get educated, not fingered. Littlefinger out.